Welcome back to another Askari Cast. My name is Rod Van Blake, author of the Ancient Illumination series as well as the Umbani Chronicles. I am joined once again by Andrea Rose Washington.
Hello.
She's the author of Adelithia, Elindo and Almond Tree's Magic. And we are also joined by Jordan Purnell Jackson.
Hey, everybody.
Jordan is the creator and illustrator of Eve of Insurrection as well as Eve of Reclamation. He's also did the graphic novels for Ancient Illumination, and we're working currently on the Umbani Chronicles first comic. And he also did Jericho's Bane by L.J. Knight comic adaptation. How you doing today, Jordan?
Good.
Good.
I'm a married man.
You're a married man now. Congratulations, officially.
I'm a married man officially.
Yeah.
It's it. Ready to talk, but I'm ready to talk about enough of that. Ready to talk about Miss Marvel because I've been out.
Miss Marvel, yes.
So I want
That's
to hear what y'all been thinking. What's going on?
That's what we're getting into today. Miss Marvel. Since we took a break in between for events and weddings and all of that, we're going to talk about episodes 5 and 6 today. So for the first half, we will get into episode 5, Time and Again, which was an very interesting episode. Breakaway. I mean, this show in general has been different. This show even more so because we not only get a flashback to India and Pakistan after the British gave up rule there. We see riots and strife in 1942 happening, I guess among religious lines as they explain it. And it opens with Aisha running from a British soldier and then throwing a knife at him. And then later on we see Hassan, which we find out later Aisha's Kamala's great grandmother, and then Hassan is her great grandfather, obviously. Yep. And we see Hassan being a bit of a activist. I did think it was interesting because this wasn't my jam normally, because this is more of it starts out as like a love story.
Yes, very much.
Yeah, we get a love story between Aisha and Hassan. After she gets away from, I don't know if she really escapes from the other clandestines or they just all split up.
They gave me split up vibes because they were all working together, right? They were the same team at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was kind of weird because when later on when Najma finds her, she's like, I thought you were all dead. So it doesn't seem like that was a planned split, though. They just, I guess, ghosted after the British came in when they were digging up all the trinkets in that it's a place that got excavated, and we see the 10 ring symbols and stuff down there, and the Kree arm and all the little Easter eggs they tossed earlier in the season. Yeah, like I said, it's a love story. You get his smooth little line, a callback. What you seek is seeking you, and then it kind of just flash forward, and all of a sudden she's pregnant. Like
time jump, y'all. They had a baby.
We had a smidgen of
I don't know what happened.
Had a baby.
I didn't look up like this.
She had her face was constantly made up. It was as if she was like teleported from this time period to the past. I'm like, she's a full head of makeup here. I'm like, eyebrows are perfect. I'm like, interesting. I'm like, is that realistic? I let it go, but is that realistic?
It was important, and a beat face is important.
I'm like, okay, Aisha, we know who you are.
I have to say, this episode, if I have to say like which one I like the most, even though like excluding 6 because 6 is a finale, so that's a whole different like level. 5, I guess I'm just dead inside because I didn't really care for the romance.
There was no real romance. I mean, there was no real
but it was just like,
meet cute. It wasn't much. It was just
that's it. Off of what Rod said, it was like her entire life changed because of a man, and I sort of hate that thinking for women. Like she had a plan to go back to her home world, and then she meets a man, falls in love, and like, I can no longer do that anymore. And it's just like, honey, you will literally outlive this dude.
Yeah, true.
You will outlive your daughter. I understand. It's like, I don't like the trope of a woman finds a guy and like her entire, like she gives up everything she sort of cared about. Like, bring him with you. Like, but it was the way they shaped it. Was like there was really no need for the romance, in my opinion. Like, I know we need to get the daughter, so we get the granddaughter, so we get Kamala, but it just seemed out of place for me. And I was just like, oh God, okay, so she's gonna fall in love, and like everything that she's ever cared about is gonna be wrapped around this guy. And I don't like that trope for women. So I was just like, oh, this is just. Couldn't we have they both been on the same side? Like, oh yeah, I want to go to her home world with her. I want to be with my wife. But it was like, no.
I'm playing devil's advocate today, y'all. I'm doing it.
Go ahead.
I mean, you take it that way, but what if it's the fact that like Aisha has to change her, like she's literally changing her life to birth this line of women, this matriarch, these series of women, and this long line of powerful, or not, I guess they all have these gifts, but like that's kind of what it seemed like her purpose was. It wasn't to serve this man, but ultimately she had to serve the birth of Kamala, and so we can find out what happens next. But I don't think it was. I see your point, but as we see how the story goes out, really her purpose was to give birth to her kids.
I'm going to correct what I said, because I don't want it to seem like I said serve the man, not so much like serve him, but like it became what she wanted,
her purpose,
was about what he wanted versus her like serving him. I want to correct my terminology.
Got you.
It was like your dreams are now my dreams. Like, okay, but I still have my dreams.
I don't even remember what was Hassan. I felt like my intentions with Hassan, like my impression of Hassan was like his motivation, like he seemed more motivated by like rebellion and like liberating his people, and then them having a kid just happened. Like that's literally how it's shown to us. It just happens. So it's not like Hassan's like, I want you to be my wife. Like, especially how they edited it. It was just boom, boom, we're here now. Like things are happening.
It was kind of abrupt. Janae commented, she said that's how WandaVision did it. Well, was trying to go back home. I think she's talking about Aisha, because it seems like she was running and found a place to hide when she met her husband. But she does agree with Andrea. She doesn't like that trope for women either. It was all kind of Hassan was kind of swept under the rug kind of quickly. They were trying to flee to safety. It seemed like Aisha was running from the clandestine that she knew was coming after meeting Najma, just popping up on her. We knew that was going to happen. It wasn't going to be a happily ever after type of story. And it was kind of weird with Hassan to me, because obviously they needed to kind of get out of Dodge because of all the smoke that was happening. Stuff was happening with the riots and folks were trying to flee. But he seemed like he wanted to kind of sit there, but it was like I'm no one's buying flowers from me because business is bad.
Also, wasn't he Muslim, which made him
he was
an enemy or underdog in this situation.
It was like that's why he was being mistreated, was because he was Muslim, and no one's going to sell milk to my wife because I'm Muslim. And I'm like, well, if that's the case, you should be on board with leaving too. Like both of y'all are leaving. It's a common interest for you to leave. If that's the case, then you have he didn't seem on board to me. Did you see that or no?
So I understood why he didn't want to go, but it doesn't make it safe for him to stay. Because in his mind, this is my home. I shouldn't have to leave because someone else in charge doesn't like my religion. And so it's like, I get it. You're right. You shouldn't have to leave, but you're going to die if you stay.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like, I get why you don't want to go, and your reasoning for not going is technically correct. You shouldn't have to leave. You shouldn't have to leave the village you grew up in and all your friends and your extended whatever because someone in charge is making people hate Muslims.
Yeah.
But that does not mean it's safe for you to stay. So the smarter move is to go where you're actually safe. So like, I get why he didn't want to leave, but it doesn't make it the smarter decision, especially when you have a kid who you have to also think about is also going to be affected by your, like, if you want to stay. Your daughter needs to go. Your family can't stay with you because you want to risk you risk their lives because I was born here, I'm going to die here. I'm not going to die here.
We're not doing this. This is not happening.
Here, but I'm going to go die somewhere else.
We're not doing this. We're not living this type of strife.
Yeah.
For the principle. Funny, but also he's kind of as a person, he's kind of limited. Like, how much revolution you going to do on that cane aside from talking, when the smoke and the dust up happens, like, let's be real, you need to get out of Dodge, especially, like as Andrea is saying, you got a family and a child to look after. Y'all should get out of Dodge right now. It's at that point, your purpose should have changed slightly, But this was this was a breakaway from the mainline story. How did you guys feel about that? I didn't mind it, even though thinking about it ahead of time, if I'd have known what kind of episode this fifth one was going to be, I probably wouldn't I don't know about this, but I didn't mind the switch up here.
I'll go to Jordan's stuff.
Yeah, you go first.
For what we learned, I liked it. I think they could have just made episode 4 45 minutes, and included basically what we needed to learn in this one, because basically the whole point was learning that the clandestines killed her great grandmother, and she was the one who did the Trail of Stars for her grandmother.
That was
which was a nice turn of events. I really like that.
So that was basically what we had to learn in this episode, in that part of that episode. And I think it was sort of implied at the end of the fourth one. Again, we weren't really sure if she was in her mind back or was she really back. But for that part, I think it was good for the two facts that we needed to learn. I was drawn out a little bit more because to me, I'm dead inside when it comes to romance, whatever. I get it, but okay. But for learning what we had to actually learn, we knew they were the villains, but now we understand, oh, you really are the villains. You straight up killed one of your best friends because she was trying to get her kid up. She was trying to save her kid. So it was, I didn't dislike it. I just felt like it didn't need
to be as long as it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
It brings up questions too, I think, because we get the payoff, like you say, with the Trail of Stars. So that kind of comes full circle, bringing the old story and the new kind of full circle together. So Kamala meets Aisha. Interestingly, we have technically two bangles in the same
time period dimension.
They needed two of them. They had only found the one, and now, even though it's the same bangle, you have two bangles in their presence right there. And I was kind of curious as to why Najima wasn't alerted once the bangle is activated after she killed Aisha and walks off. The whole in episode where Kamala activates the bangle initially, that's what signals the clandestines to her location. So she kills old girl and just walks off. Kamala activates the bangle to give Sana a path back to her father, the Trail of Stars, but you never see Najima turn around or anything oh, something just happened that should have alerted her, and she doesn't double back after that.
I agree. You brought up a really good point, because I guess would that be considered a plot hole in this? The fact that she doesn't actively choose to find this bangle, although that's her motivation, and she just kind of disregards it. That doesn't it kind of doesn't make sense.
That's what she was looking for.
That part doesn't make sense at all. But you also kind of made me think what is when Aisha pulls out the photograph and she says the what you see, Klein.
Yeah.
So is it possible? So when she said that, did her kind of control of the Hardline energy actually bring Kamala to this time period, or did it just activate the bangle to kind of give? I guess did it activate the bangle in this time in the past to kind of alert Kamala this is where she needs to go to? I'm trying to figure out the logic of why she did that.
It seems kind of coincidental, and she doesn't. If you follow the conversation or the dialogue as they're interacting with each other, it seems like she thinks Kamala is Sana at first.
Yeah, which was interesting too. Yeah, I'm nope.
She's and Kamala tells her I'm not Sana. She's oh, it's okay because you're here now. And so she doesn't seem totally lucid. Understandable. She's probably bleeding out. She's dying in that moment.
Yeah.
So I don't know if she's the catalyst for that, or whether the catalyst is actually the stab to the bangle that we see from Najima that actually transports her back there. That's the thing that we see from the episodes before.
Right, that's what we saw.
I don't know if that's a plot hole or not. But yeah, we get that whole thing. Go ahead, Andrea.
So maybe I'm just really missing something. So to that point of it being a plot hole, how? Because at this point we know not to trust the rest of the clandestines.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So what was really the point of her going back in time and learning not to trust them and seeing her great grandmother die?
Well, technically, Kamala didn't see her. Well, Kamala saw her great grandmother dying, but I don't think she knew Najma did it. She just saw her.
She still knows not to trust her.
Oh yeah, she knows that. Oh yeah, regardless, yeah, she already knows that. But
and she has to know something because she says to Kamran, oh, I think that's later though. That's in the next episode. But she does voice the fact that she knows that you've taken her. Basically, you took my great grandmother's right or her want or need to be with her family away from her. So she does know she has something to do with her being gone. And then we get towards the end of the episode, after we see the portal opens when Kamala wakes back up in current day, the portal opens up. Was anybody else flipping out because you seen Sister Girl get crispy trying to go through the portal and Najma's going to go right after her? That didn't make any sense to me.
So
yeah, I'm still trying to figure that part out.
I saw a couple people like post about this, and the running theme, because again, no one can really understand why she did this. The running theme is that she was so prideful that she thought
it was going to work for me.
Yes,
that's the exact. This is why. So I was thinking about that, and I'm like, I find Najma to be a very like. I don't think she's not a good villain to me. Like I don't care about her. Like she doesn't have a distinct. Like her motivations aren't interesting to me, and like her doing that at the end was kind of like it felt like it was a plot device to go.
It is.
To allow for what we're gonna see next. Like it was like, and I'm still trying to rationalize like what did she do by like what power did she activate to do this thing, this transference? Like I'm like how's this happening? She just did it with the will of her mind.
She said his name.
That's it. She just said Kamran. Kamran.com, and then that was it. That was it.
So the other running theory that I somewhat more agree with is that they had to shed their bodies here to be there. So like while we might have saw them die, they weren't actually dead. They were back home. I don't really I
don't believe that. You got to show me that. I would have need to seen that.
Don't disbelieve it, but I don't 100% believe it because again, we don't really know what happened to them. So I don't disbelieve that could be a possibility. I believe it is a slight bit more, but because I'm like, you can't be that dumb to see your friend get fried and like, oh, it's not gonna happen to me. So I'm like, it has to be like she thought that maybe, I'm shedding my body to be back home. And like, oh no, I drank the juice and I died.
Yeah.
I tie into your cult comment.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You heard me say it. I was like, it's not a cult.
So those are like the two main theories I saw on the internet after this. So I was like, I have to agree with the one about like maybe she thought she drank the juice. No, maybe she drank the juice and thought, okay, I'm just gonna shed this body here.
It's gonna work.
And yeah, it's gonna work for me. Or it could be a little mix of both, so didn't really.
Maybe she somehow embodied the wispy, shiny crystal things that floats into Kamran. And so that's what I'm waiting on is when maybe she's not gone, and Najma is going to awaken within Kamran and then be a real problem. And then that's going to flip it, making you right. Now will become the villain. I see this as a callback to the comics because Kamran's character does become this like translucent kind of the color that he was character when he becomes powered later on. So that was, I think, like you said, Jordan, I think that's kind of just a plot device to make that thing happen. Like,
I hope it doesn't happen to him. Only just because, and we see this more in the next episode, and we'll talk about it in the second half of the episode. There's a war within him, of like trying to do what's right and also like being with his family. So I hope his mother doesn't like take over his body. I really hope that's.
I kind of want that to happen. I really want that to happen. I like that a lot. I like that idea a lot. Let's go for it, Marvel. Do it. Follow what you did in the comics, please.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think that part's this the look of him that they're gonna, because they did doing it partially where you just see his hands.
Oh, with that green, yellowish,
green lens, yellowish and kind of translucent. I see the comics, you see his whole, like his face is that way too. If you only see his eyes, we don't see the whole thing embodied in the 2 episodes. We don't see that here, but I think that's what they're alluding to. Have they optioned it for another season or no? So far,
they said that she'll return in
the Marvels.
Oh.
Yeah.
So the thing is that I don't think they announced that like Loki 2 was gonna have a second season, and now it is.
Yeah, it is.
So they're probably gonna do what Disney always does, and like someone's holding it with like a fear of their life that Kevin's gonna, like, they're gonna spill the beans, and Kevin's gonna be like, strike one.
Go ahead.
I hope they do give it a second season, because this was hands down probably I don't know if this is the right word or a word in general. I should know this, I'm out there. The funnest Marvel show that I've watched. Like, there were some downsides, but this was like, when the show ended, it was more of a no, I need more versus, oh my God, what did I just watch? My brain needs to download. But this was so enjoyable.
Okay.
I really hope they do give this a second season.
Yeah, this was an interesting one. This 5th episode, like I said, it was a change up leading us into the finale. Let's take a quick break, and then we will come back and talk episode 6, No Normal. We'll talk to you in a second. And we are back. The second half of the Askari Cast. We are talking about episode 6, No Normal, the finale for Miss Marvel. I'm Rod Van Blake. I am joined once again by Jordan Purnell Jackson.
Hey, everybody.
And Andrea Rose Washington.
What is?
And now we're into the last one, which opens with the Agent Deaver after they done blowed up. We didn't talk about this in the end of the last episode. Kamran shows up to Brian's house, aka Bruno.
Keep calling him Brian. You're the only one I could come to. Really? You went to Brian?
Yeah.
Still calling the man Brian.
It was the best scene, though. That was the funniest. I cracked up when
because the name mixed up. And he's like, "I swear to God, I thought your name was Brian."
He's like, because it's like, okay, you weren't being a douchebag. You just really didn't know his name.
Bro.
And I felt secondhand embarrassment because I've done that to people. I thought someone's name was like Amy and it was really Sarah, and I introduced her as, oh, this is Amy. It was like Sarah. I was like, oh my God. And I've known you for like a year and you just let me call you the wrong name?
Yeah, that's the funniest, when people just let you do it the whole time and you feel bad, but at the same time you're like, how come you never correct me this whole time?
Yes.
And Bruno says, oh, I hadn't noticed it, but then notice he kept track of how many times. Yeah, the first 4 times I didn't really just keep track how many times this dude's been messing your name up. Yeah, you see, we're getting more and more of Agent Deaver from the DODC, that she just really don't like these power people. And this is her line is, this is what happens when the wrong people get powers. We didn't talk about the aftermath of the mom finding out her powers in the last episode. And I knew this was going to happen, but it's confirmed in the finale episode that Maneva snitched and told Pops, and then that led to everybody else. So when she tries to make her grand announcement, they already know, and they're feigning like they're being told for the first time, which was cute. But Pops to me is like the real MVP because he's just so supportive regardless of what's going on.
It's a good dad right there.
He's a good, Pops is cool.
Really good dad.
And you see that they're all throughout this series, they've been teasing out parts of Kamala's final version of her uniform we see the mom pick up the medallion that was broken off her chain, and you see it's in like the almost like lightning bolt thing. So that's incorporated into the gift that she gives her, funnily enough, wrapped in a toffee box, which we talked about with the mom and grandma, because the mother liked toffee, so she had the toffee box to wrap that. That was cool. Still lots of endearing, lighthearted, wholesome things, which I think should come along with something on Disney. But how do you guys feel?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the just in episode 5 we did gloss over that, but just to see kind of the lineage of the grandmother, the mother and daughter, and just to see kind of them kind of just like being together and reflecting on like well, Kamala's mom when she was Kamala's age and like all these different things. And so to see them all come together at the to see that her mom made her a costume again, but made her the costume that became her identity, like became her true identity, was very beautiful. And to see kind of how their tumultuous relationship came together at the end, her mom actually supported her. So that was pretty awesome. I was really happy. I was like, yeah, let's go.
And mom getting context from both through the daughter, now gets a better context and understanding of what she didn't understand about her mom. And like, my mom's wasn't just crazy. All this stuff is real.
It is. It's all real.
Now everybody's having a better understanding of what each other was going throughout various
communication.
Yeah.
No secrets.
I have to say, when the mother gave, first of all, okay, backtracking. Telling the family, I love how the brother was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. I feel that like reminded me, like my father could not keep a secret at all to save his life. Like he would tell me. So like that reminded me of that whole thing. It was like, why did you tell someone? Or why did you tell me? So I loved that whole thing of family. Like, well, it's family. We don't have secrets. But then I loved the costume because it goes back to how she made the Hulk costume, but it really wasn't for their daughter. It was like so they would be comfortable with what she was wearing, but not really what their daughter wanted, because she screamed she likes Marvel. That's who she is. And so this one was like, okay, you're actually listening to your daughter. You're making something that you are comfortable with her wearing, but you also are tailoring it to her, not to just what you're comfortable with. And I definitely love that little mother-daughter moment. And I was like, dang, your mom made you that? That looks nice.
That costume was fire. That was some very interesting materials.
And it was, I know like the Hulk costume you can only do so much, but come on, like that was so much better. If you could have made that, you could have went in a little bit more on that Hulk costume. Like that tells me you weren't trying on that
one. Mom was at 10% when she was doing the Hulk costume. Like, just throw something together.
You can give me this beautiful ornate with beautiful stitching, and you gave me a sack. That wasn't for me. That was for you. But that was beautiful. That was a very beautiful scene.
And it was funny how they highlighted elder folk and technological glitches, because I have family members and I have seen elderly people that I do not know that will walk into a public place with their phone fully on speaker, just gabbing away, and they walk right up on you with the conversation full just blast, and he's just talking about, I went down to the VFW. Like, I don't need to be part of this conversation. So I could see how Muniba told Pops was talking, and so because he had his phone on speaker, that's how the older brother and his wife, now who they just got married, finds out. He didn't spill the beans inadvertently, not on purpose, but they were listening because they had no choice but to listen, to be in his presence. He had it on speakerphone. So that was funny. And of course,
before you go forward, when you had made the comment earlier about the DOD person saying when the wrong people get powers and then try to cover up by saying teenagers, and it's just like, honey, you're not fooling anyone.
Yeah, no.
Like, at all.
You're racist.
Like,
you're racist.
Very much politically correct that you're coming across. And doesn't mean you're right. It means you're staying within the acceptable lines of what I'm allowed to say since I work for the government.
Yeah, and they rolled right up into the mosque once again, trying to check folks. And it was funny how they had their IDs out before they even asked for them. They were like,
yeah.
Already.
America.
Yeah, and their IDs ready. They're chasing them through, and you see Kamran and Bruno trying to make their way out of the mosque. This, I think, was a throwback and a kind of an Easter egg for both Captain America, Winter Soldier, and Captain Marvel. I think it's a running gag with Marvel. And yeah, the disguise. The jean jacket and a baseball cap. Like that's not really disguised. We're still gonna recognize who you are, but they did it anyway. Kamran power glitches in the middle of it. He just starts poking out with his powers for whatever reason, and they go to the comics. And that, I think, is another callback to the comics with Kamran when his powers fully come in. They go to the high school of all places to hide out, and they come up with that little plan. I call it, they're giving it the Home Alone treatment. They come up with these little gags.
Beautiful.
And funnily enough, she stops before they go into the school to enlist the Red Daggers of all people to try and smuggle Kamran out. And at first, when I was watching, I was like, I don't know how that's going to go, because they were like arch enemies from day one. And we hear that, once it gets back to the upper people, the higher ups in the DODC, Agent Danvers don't care. Like, this is looking bad to the press. Don't you go in there. Yeah, you're about to do it in front of a high school. There is such a thing as bad press. How about you just cease and desist and come home? We'll get them next time. And she's like, she says yes, but you already knew she was going to go. She was going to go forward with it. Go ahead, you guys. Thoughts?
So, the Home Alone scene, beautifully done. I love that the brother just walked in and he's like, what are you doing here? He's like, I went to high school here. I can come up to the bathroom. Plus, mom asked me to come and watch after you. And I found it hilarious that she's like, yes! She's like in full superhero regalia. Is like, they know she's about to go into battle. Hey, go watch your little sister. Like, what is he gonna do?
We don't even have powers, bro. We don't have powers. What are you gonna do?
But that's like such a go watch after your sister. I don't know what she's doing. Like, you want me to risk my life?
Why me? Yeah, why me?
I just got married.
That's older brother treatment right there. Go watch your younger sister with superpowers. Like, yeah, so I can get my ass whooped. But she'll be fine.
I love that. And then I love how she was like, okay, we went to this big elaborate plan, but really, Zoe, you're the real plan. I love how they sort of glossed over the fact that she knew it was Kamala, and they never fully explained is that she knew from the very beginning or just like overheard them talking. It was like, oh, that was her. She is my friend. I'm gonna join in. Because she gave no. Sometimes Marvel tries to sneak in, like, oh, like if you go back and rewatch, you'll see like she may have given Kamala a look that we didn't notice at the time. And I went back and looked. Yeah.
Okay.
And so like after the fact, we never saw her give like Kamala like another like once over after Kamala walked away. And Marvel's really good at hiding little Easter eggs that we don't really get until after we go back and watch it again. And so I was like, you never gave anything up that except for the fact that she could be Southeast Asian or South Asian.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you knew, but like they never gave it a good hint that Zoe actually knew it was Kamala until that scene.
Right.
Yeah, they both kind of, her and the brother just kind of popped up out of nowhere. Like, this is where I do my TikToks. They've got the best lighting. I was like, okay, that's weird, but I'll allow it, I guess.
In school on Saturday at night. Okay, that's definitely safe. You're not going to die in a horror movie, honey.
So that was an interesting scene. You see the deal. The weird part, the Zuzu setup, where he set the Zuzu to play the music, and they thought it was a bomb at first. This made no sense. Like, why would you shoot what you think is an explosive device that's always sitting there in the hallway? Like, if that was a bomb, all y'all did.
Because if you were wrong,
maybe those sonic guns they had could disarm an explosive. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. That made no sense. Because
they think it's a bomb, then they hear the music playing, and they're wrong. They're wrong for doing this. But in their mind's like, oh, it's not a bomb. It's just a distraction. But on the off chance that you were wrong, Rod, you're right. Like,
that would be hilarious if it was a bomb. Oh,
like,
got him. Kids got him.
That would have been really bad.
Yeah, it was cool. They were running around through all the little traps. We see, after all the little skirmishes going on throughout the school, you see Kamala and Kamran kind of get together and run around. It's kind of weird. Like everybody else is running interference, and they're like holding hands and creeping through the hallways. And they bend down and get down in front of a desk. And luckily, at the last nick of time, the DODC agents get called away. And I thought it was pretty funny. Bruno returns the favor at this moment because it looks like they're about to kiss. And just as they're about to look and kiss, Bruno sticks his head and like, you guys need to. And there was an awkward moment right there. And then he runs interference again. As they go away, he goes to dance. This is kind of brutal to me. Bruno gets butt stroked right in the face.
Yeah, they knocked the crap out of him.
Yeah, that's where if for y'all that don't know, I'm from the military.
Totally sound like you were saying something else.
Butt of the rifle,
and he
full on in the jaw.
Yeah,
I was like, damn, that was kind of brutal right there.
Brutal for Bruno.
I love everything about episode 6 except the little will they won't they kiss between Kamala and Kamran. You do not have time for this right now. Neither of you. This is not the time nor place. I get that it's like they're supposed to be high school students, so they're not really thinking completely with their brains. But when I saw that scene, I was screaming, "This is not the time. This is not the time. This is not the time. This is not the time." Because I don't know, it just seemed, again, totally bad timing. Like you're literally running for your life. This is not the time to stop and kiss. I hate when they do that in action movies in general. The whole trope of we're gonna die. There's one kiss and like things sort of like you see slow motion all around you, like all around. Like I don't. No. I'm not gonna kiss you and get shot in the back of my head because we stopped for a kiss when we could have been running. Like
we should write that. We should write that where somebody kisses and gets shot right in that moment.
Oh, they die together. Oh, they go for the kiss and the bull comes both ways.
Yeah.
Because like the most famous one I can think of is like from Pirates of the Caribbean, the last one when they get married and like they're still fighting and they stop and like William and the other girl, I can't think of her name, kiss, and like the whole is like a panoramic of them, and I'm just like no, this is not the time. This is not the time. There's always time for love. Not if I'm gonna die. Like, so I was actually really happy that Bruno like stopped it because granted it still sucks for him because we know he has feelings for her, but it's like this was not the time or place to have a kiss.
Yeah, it was like poetic justice to me. That was because Kamran, when they were about to slow dance at the end of like the wedding ceremony, they were getting together to dance, and he just pops up out of nowhere. Hey, can I talk to you for a second? Like, so he gets kind of
we gotta talk now.
Yeah, returns the favor. Then they go out and you see them hiding in the restroom. An agent jumps out as Kamran's trying to press her for information about what happened to his mom's. That all happens, and it gets this weird where she's not necessarily fighting Kamran, but she's doing things to deflect his power to stop him from killing the agent. So it's like she's fighting a battle on two different fronts. She's trying to protect him, and she's trying to protect the people around her, the agents, the cops, the crowd. They have that whole fight outside once they get outside, and the cops just open fire. Well, not I don't think it's the cops.
It was the DOD agent. Because the cops looked shocked.
Yeah. They all open fire on these kids, and they start blocking stuff. And then you see them whip out these sonic cannons, which
they look like the sonic cannons from Hulk. From the Hulk movie.
Reminded me of Hulk. Yeah. From the Hulk movies, they brought those back, and then Kamala finally, people have been talking about this for the past couple of weeks, she finally does the thing. She says the word, embiggen, from the comics. And you see kind of the
biggin? She says biggin?
No, embiggen.
Embiggen.
Yeah. Okay. From the comics where she makes herself larger.
Big,
and then starts tearing up the sonic cannons and other stuff. That was a weird scene. They have, they go back and forth as they're trying to do stuff. And Kamran comes out and does this Hulk out thing with his powers, and they have this weird crystal dome powwow, I guess to get some privacy.
We need to talk.
Yeah, we need to talk, and we'll do this crystal dome over us as we have this conversation while everybody's outside just wondering what the heck is going on while we're in this weird cocoon. and I'll give you some time to escape, is that she says there is no normal. He doesn't. When do I become normal? There is no normal anymore. There's no going back. That was a cool scene. What did you guys think about the rest of the finale, I guess?
I thought it was a great, because we love small town heroes, and you think New York, New Jersey, not small town, but the fact that like you saw Zoe live stream and get all of her fans out there, and people who came from the community came to the high school, to see them cheering on and then being afraid. You see her parents like when they're getting shot at, like no, and the father's not even caring, like he's calling her beta, and like everyone knows. I mean, they don't know, but like if anyone was actually listening to what he was saying, that's his daughter.
Yeah.
The fight scene, to see Kamran struggle with what and who he is, and again everything he's been raised to believe versus what he's seeing, and then like he can't really control what's inside of him. So it's like, I like how the imam told him, just because you're attacking you doesn't mean you treat them the same. He says like a line that he's saying, like, just because they're your enemies doesn't mean you have to harm them, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And it was a good line to an extent, but it was nice to see the turmoil that he was going through while he was trying to also understand his powers. Because at the heart of it, I don't think he really wanted to attack people. He really didn't want to escape. But because he was backed into a corner, instead of trying to do things peacefully like Kamala probably would, his first instinct is to always attack, because that's how he was raised. And he's like, they already think I'm the villain. And she's like, well, you got to show them that you're different.
Yeah.
There's no normal, like you said. So I liked it. I was very much, one, very happy that this was an hour long, and two, I was upset that it was not 2 hours long, because I could have kept watching the show.
Yeah, I personally I always get nervous when we have a superhero going against a villain that is like basically the same power and ability. And so I'm like apprehensive, and I'm like, ugh, he's kind of doing, he's using the same hard light material. So I was kind of like, for me, it was like the action was like, it was cool at times, then it was kind of cheesy. It was like him throwing the lockers down. I was like, okay. But to kind of like see Kamran have this, like you were saying, Andre, him having this conflict, and then watching kind of like Kamala acknowledge that he's still conflicted, and like when he's like about to lash out and she's like trying to save him or save other people and stop him, that part was very like, I connected with that. Like that was relatable. Like I could feel that. Go ahead.
Oh no, I can wait till you're done. I just want to say at the point when you're done.
Okay. I can really feel that, like she's really like, oh no. And so to get to the fight overall, see the fight scene, that stuff was like, the fight outside was cool to see her kind of like develop and grow and get bigger and kind of like smash stuff was cool. And to kind of see the effect, I think the scenes after where they like see all the social media clips, and to see like the impact that Miss Marvel has on like across the internet was very nice, because she started out as this she was this brown girl to be feared, and now she is this brown girl, that superhero that everyone likes and loves. So it was cool to kind of see that kind of like that arc and change is really nice.
They gave her the Spider-Man treatment.
Exactly. That is
like, yes. when the like Andrea was saying, the kind of small town effect. Remember when I forget what movie it was, but like they gathered around Spider-Man with one of the villains. Hey, you messed with Spider-Man, you messed with us. The police.
Wait, I remember that. Which movie was that? Oh my god, I remember
that.
Was that? Oh, Spider-Man.
I remember that. Maguire, wasn't it?
I think it was Tobey Maguire, but that was what they had here with the people from Jersey City. Even the police turned around and faced off against the DODC. Like, they were like flabbergasted. Like, we don't know what to do with this. Like, everybody's teaming up with her right now. It's like, it was interesting. What point did you have, Andre?
So to Jordan, when he said how like he doesn't like, well, not like, but when he said about the whole point when a superhero fights a villain with the same power, it's very interesting how differently though that they're using their power.
That is true.
Kamala is always like an extension of herself, like she's using her hands. or a shield or like stepping stone. And Kamran is using his more as actual like projectiles.
Yeah, he was.
Forcefully. And so hers is always like in defense, and his is offense. Yeah. And so like while you're right, they have like the same power, but her life, she wasn't raised to always be on the offense. And so she's using hers as more defensive, catching heavy things, being a shield, and he's like, I'm the spear. I'm gonna like ram.
Yeah, he's just like, I'm gonna run, I'm gonna throw things, I'm gonna bash people, blah blah blah.
Yeah. And then when you said like the little ending when we saw people on social media, I have to say, one, the best friend, Nakia, yeah, I'm so bad. Nakia, when she tried to stop the DOD from going into the room in the
her boyfriend, that was so funny. Like, yo, she just hiding for her boyfriend. Get caught.
All he cared about was like, not the, why are these random agents here? Do you have a body cam on? She called me her boyfriend. And then at the end, he's like, I can't believe it. I just wish like there was it happened. She called me her boyfriend, and like everyone else is talking about the fight. Like she called me her boyfriend. He's so happy. I just
what do you think about the end credits? The two scenes. Because the one like immediately when you say Bruno with the car that Kamran left behind, and he's like, I think there's something else. I'm wondering if Marvel is they're obviously telegraphing something here, because he says mutation, and if you know
she might be an Inhuman, right?
No, yeah, and in the comics she was an Inhuman, but they're opening the door to me, because there's a soundbite when he says mutation that's to the X-Men 90s animated show. You hear that like subtly in the background. So I'm like, are they closer to closing the deal than we know to try and get the X-Men and everybody?
They're gonna do it. They're gonna do it. We got Professor X in the Multiverse of Madness, so they
and Black Bolt. So it's like they put both of them in there.
Yeah, we had an Inhuman and a mutant.
So but the fact that they called it a mutation, that's X-Men. And so
that is
true. Damn.
And that's the reason why they eliminated that word. If the Sony, they were allowed to say mutants. All the MCU movies, they what did they say?
Oh yeah, mutation.
They'll say enhanced. They won't say a mutant. So,
all right. Oh no, yeah, I caught that. I was very excited about that. I was like, oh yes, we're getting the X-Men some way, somehow, some shape or form of them within this universe. The second one, I am very confused.
Me too. I don't know what this means.
They swapped Carol Danvers with her. There's two things it could have been.
But what?
Go ahead, Andrea, go ahead and explain your confusion.
So I know. So technically, she actually has so in the comics, I know she sort of has more of a connection to she sort of shapeshifts into Carol Danvers in the comics in the very beginning.
Yes, she does.
But it's one of her abilities to shapeshift, and so that's how she she didn't feel comfortable in her own skin in the beginning, so she wanted to shapeshift into Carol Danvers. And so at first I thought that's what it was until she started talking, and it was like, one, this is not the same uniform that she was wearing beforehand. It's different hairstyle. The bangle's no longer there, and it's like, this makes me think this is actually Carol Danvers, and wherever she was pulled out of, where the heck is Kamala?
Yeah, who's doing universe? Who's swapping people in universes? I'm like, what's going on?
I think she has I think Carol Danvers. I think the bangle is actually Kree technology, and the two bangles are connected, and they have in fact switched places. Which, as Andrea said, she might have been switched into a crazy, whatever Captain Marvel was dealing with. Now she just flung Kamala
into that situation. That had me ask a lot of questions. What is going on? She just kind of almost warped. She's kind of warped into nothingness, and then out came Carol Danvers. I'm like, okay.
So it's what? It's very confusing.
I'm like, I like how you explained it, right? That sounds interesting. So that's an interesting explanation of what could possibly be happening. That was surprising. We'll say that.
And of course, because they said she'll return in the Marvels. That's what obviously setting up. So yeah, I think she swapped places with Carol Danvers because Carol has the other bangle that they were looking for initially, and it's Kree technology, which would explain why she ended up with it because of her connection to the Kree. And I guess we'll see what happens in the Marvels.
Did she have when she kind of blipped in or whatever we want to call it? Did she have another bangle in her hand, or was he just?
She has a bracelet on. She has a gold bracelet on I think on her left hand.
She does.
Mm-hmm.
If it's there, then I'm vibing with this. If it's there,
yeah,
I got it. I was like, yeah, it's there. Look at the footage. So like, I got to look at this.
I am.
Excuse me, everyone alive. I'm going to take a slight pause. I'm going to look this up. We got to see this because this was wild.
Yeah.
Because like I feel like I looked at it and I definitely could have missed it, but I just.
It's not the same shape.
I was looking for something.
But it's a bracelet.
No guarantee that it's the same size. So I was looking for something the same exact size as Kamala's.
Yeah, no, it's not the same size and shape as Kamala's, but there is like a brass or gold bracelet on her wrist, one of her wrists.
Huh. I'm looking at it right now.
Emotions. Oh, she does have something on her wrist, yeah.
But it looks like it's connected to her gloves, so there's just two on.
Yeah.
No, the other side is just blue. That one looks a little goldish. Or tan. It's not gold. I can't describe it. Yeah, it looks a little something on her left arm though. There's something, but it doesn't. It has a completely different design.
Yeah, it doesn't look like the one that Kamala has, but.
Oh yeah, it's definitely not the one that Kamala has now.
Yeah, it's but I mean it could be like Terminator 2 liquid that can shape shift as well. And the bracelet that Kamala has, you've seen it become smaller and bigger because it was smaller as I saw it on Aisha's hand, and when she hands it off to the grandmother, it's smaller than what we see on Kamala too. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out in the films.
Very excited.
Yeah.
So how do we rate the series overall? Out of 10. Out of 10. Yeah,
I'm gonna go
rate out of 10.
I'm gonna go at 8.5, creeping up to 9. For me on this one.
And the only reason I'm going to say the number that I'm going to say is because I feel like they could have left out the little high school romance drama. I feel like this should have been a 9.5, because I really enjoyed every single episode. Like there may have been things in some episodes that I didn't like, but it didn't mean I didn't like it because it was bad. It just wasn't exactly for me. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Okay.
So I'm giving it like a 9.5, and it probably would have a 10 if it wasn't for just like
unnecessary romance.
I just feel like it was more forced, and the story would be exactly the same without it.
Okay. I think I'll give it a solid 8.5. Just because overall I really enjoyed the family dynamic. And that kind of that was a huge part of the story for me, really. It was less about the action. But then again, when we got to, I guess, 5 and 6, the filler episode was okay. It gave us context to why number 5 gave us context greater context. It really was a filler episode, so it gave us greater context to who actually saved Sana.
Yeah.
And that part was cool, but it was very, like we said earlier, it was a slow pace. It's kind of a slow pace episode. It's too long, and then when we get to episode 6, for me, I always check out with. I tend to check out when the fight scenes aren't that great, so I'm like, this isn't that good. Let's just get to the other stuff I like. So, but I mean, it was a solid. Kamala's character was solid. She was great. She was amazing. Her family was amazing. Those are the great parts of these shows.
She was a believable high school girl.
Yeah, she was actually believable. She was believable. She was cool, and I like that. That was super solid.
Man, yeah. Well, glad we're all kind of in agreement. Thank you guys again.
Of course.
For chopping it up with me. Janae, Charles, and Timothy, thank you for joining us. I can see you guys' names that watched us during the live. Don't forget to check us out on Anchor and all the other places where podcasts are available through Google, Apple, Spotify, and various. And don't forget to check out Andrea Rose Washington and Monica Pinkett on Trekking and Beyond.
A Star Trek podcast. Explore strange new worlds with us.
There we go. They've moved on from Discovery to Strange New Worlds. Check them out on everywhere Anchor distributes their podcast to as well. And we will talk to you all next week. Peace.
Peace.